Playing from the big blind is one of the most difficult things to do in No Limit Texas Hold'em because, due to your excellent pot odds, you are forced to play a pretty wide range. However, you're going to be out of position. Turns out, playing out of position with a junky range is difficult. And today, we are going to go through some GTO principles to make sure you know how to play this spot well. Let's get right to it. We are going to be using the tournament format to discuss how to play from the big blind today because when you are in a tournament, there is no rake taken out of each pot, and there's an ante in play which forces you to use very, very wide pre-flop ranges, which a lot of people are very uncomfortable with. Let's take a look at what I mean. Playing 80 big blinds deep in a tournament, under the gun, raises it up, it folds around to you. In the big blind, take a look at how you should play. In this situation, you are calling or re-raising almost every single suited hand. You're only folding out the absolute weakest hands to a 2.5 big blind raise. However, notice the offsuit hands are not quite as good. A lot of people make the mistake of defending the big blind with any ace, but notice ace 6, 4, 3, and 2 are folding the majority of the time. Also notice a lot of king X, really any two cards, 8 or lower, doesn't particularly love it unless it's connected, and even the connectors don't love it either if they are offsuit. It turns out when you are deep stacked, you want to make sure your hand has good post-flop playability. So, all the weak offsuit hands fold, but pretty much every suited hand is calling a 2.5 big blind raise. Now, if someone raises smaller to, let's say, 2 big blinds, you should adjust your strategy by calling with a wider range because you're getting better pot odds. As you're getting better pot odds, you must defend a little bit wider. I would take all suited hands and defend them, and then all of these offsuit hands that are barely playable or mixing between calls and folds, I would call those as well. If your opponent uses a bigger raise size, though, say they make it 5 big blinds before the flop, you should now play much tighter. A lot of the weaker suited hands in this region are going to start folding, and a lot of these offsuit hands are really going to start folding. Take a look at which hands are opting to re-raise. This is something else a lot of people get very wrong. First things first, notice your opponent makes it 2.5, you should be making it 10.5, about 4 times the initial raise. And that's because when you're a deep stack like this, you don't want to give your opponent in position good odds to call. You don't care if they fold because you are out of position. So when you do re-raise, you're usually going to make it about 4 times what your opponent made it. Notice which hands are re-raising from out of position. It's your absolute best hands, mainly suited Broadway hands, big pairs, ace-king offsuit, and then a few, call them bluffs, with stuff like 8-7 suited, 7-6 suited, 6-5 suited, and 5-4 suited. A lot of players literally never re-raise these hands. And what that does is it makes it to where they don't have great board coverage on various low card flops. Essentially, you want to be able to always have a very strong hand on most boards when you are the aggressor. And for that reason, you want to have some suited connected hands when you are in this deep stack scenario. Okay? What if instead of under the gun raising, it was the cutoff with this range? Notice now the cutoff is raising 36% of hands, which is much more than the 16% under the gun range. If they raise, now notice how your strategy changes. Now you are playing any 2 suited cards. You get to play more offsuit hands, but again, you can't get too carried away. You don't get to play the Jack 4 offsuit or the 9-6 offsuit. We're not quite there yet. But our re-raising range gets far bigger. Now we're re-raising something like 8s and better for value, lots of suited Broadway hands, a few more offsuit high cards like ace queen and king queen and ace jack, and then some hands in this suited connected and suited gapped region. These hands all like to put in a re-raise. And again, this is something a lot of people do not do correctly. They re-raise all of these best hands, but they forget about all of these suited connected hands, and that makes them play a strategy that's just like a little bit too tight and a little bit too cautious, and that results in money flowing their opponent's directions and away from yours, which is not what you want. What about from the button? You're going to see a similar strategy when the button raises, right? You get to call a little bit more, you get to re-raise a little bit more, but the same shape generally holds true, right? Lots of suited Broadway hands that have good playability, some offsuit high card hands, pocket 8s and better, suited connectors, suited gappers, and then a few ace-x suited and king-x suited. Okay? What if instead someone raised and someone called? Let's say the low jack raises, the button now calls, and you're in the big blind. Notice now, you have to play much tighter. You may say, why am I playing so tightly in the big blind? Well, now you have to worry about the button's calling range in addition to the low jack's range. Something a lot of people do very, very wrong whenever they are in situations like this is they think that in this situation, they should call far wider because they're closing the action. They're getting good pot odds. But now there's the two people in the hand. And now you really want to shy away from playing hands that can't make good, strong, effective nut hands. And this forces you to use a much, much, much tighter strategy. A lot of the suited hands and all the offsuit hands go way down in value as there are more players in the pot. So don't think just because you're getting better pot odds, you must defend much wider. That's not how it works. What if instead we're playing 40 big blinds deep? And let's say the low jack raises, folds around you in the big blind. You see now a different strategy. Why do we have a different strategy now? Well, it's because now we are shallower stacked, which basically forces us to re-raise with a more, call it, polarized range of our best hands that are happy to get it in, maybe something like eights and better, ace, queen, and better. And then some hands that are, call it, obvious bluffs or hands that have some playability, like queen 9 suited, queen 8 suited, jack 8 suited, ace 9 offsuit, and king 9 offsuit. These hands are now putting in the re-raise. Also notice because your opponent made it 2.3, you make it a little bit smaller. They made it 2.3, you make it 9.2 in this situation against the low jack. If we were against the button instead, playing a 50% range, 40 big blinds deep, now you see something else start to happen, which a lot of people do not do. You see now an all-in range is added. We are now ripping it all in for 40 big blinds over 2.3 with pocket nines and lower, ace queen, ace jack, and king queen offsuit, and then a few other sporadic hands like king 7 suited, king 7 offsuit, and ace 2 offsuit. This is something a lot of players do not like to do. It's something a lot of small stake players are very uncomfortable doing. But you have to realize if you can have a strategy that fully maximizes your expected value from out of position, and it's not even that hard to implement because you just go all in, then this is something you definitely want to be doing from out of position because it's usually kind of hard to realize your equity from out of position in general, just because you usually make marginal-ish hands, and when you have a marginal-ish hand, it's hard to play. So you see now this all-in strategy starting to be used. If we get shallower stacked, let's say 25 big blinds, and it folds around to the button, and they raise, notice now, you again are ripping it all in with a somewhat similar range, but a little bit wider, right? Pocket 10s and lower, more ace-x offsuit, a few more king-x suiteds, and that is how you're going to adjust the stacks get shallower. Also notice the stacks get shallower, you defend wider and wider and wider, because when you are closing the action with shallow stacks against only one player, if you make any sort of pair, you're going to be happy enough getting your money in. And it's just not that hard to realize your equity as stacks get shallower, which lets you defend with weaker offsuit stuff. Also notice you are re-raising small. Remember, your button now makes it 2. You're making it 7.2. With your best hands, aces, kings, queens, jacks, ace 10 suited and better, and ace king offsuit. A few suited connectors with playability, like jack 10 suited. By the way, if you do make it 7.2 and they go all in, you call for 25 with jack 10 suited. These are not, call it, loose bluffs you're going to fold. And then you're also going to re-raise the 7.2 with some blocker junk. This is also something a lot of people fail to do. Notice all of these low ace-x, king-x, queen-x, and jack-x, and 10x are 3-bet bluffing to 7.2 big blinds a small portion of the time. Call it 15 to 20% with all of these hands. Now, if you wanted to use an implementable strategy of maybe always 3-bet bluffing with king 3 offsuit, queen 4 offsuit, and jack 5 offsuit, and then always calling all these other hands that are using small frequency 3-bets, I think that's fine. But you do want to make sure these are included in your strategy, assuming you think your opponents are also playing good, strong GTO poker. If your opponents are going to call your 3-bet every single time, because they're calling stations, well then of course you need to adjust. As stacks get even shallower, let's go down to 15 big blinds. Say the button raises to 2, small blind folds. You see a similar strategy, except for now we don't get to have any 3-bet bluffs, because if they make it 2, we can't make it 6 and then fold for only 9 more big blinds all in. So we're now shoving all the pairs, lots of ace-x, some low king-x suited, some king-queen and queen-jack offsuits, but still defending very, very wide. So what I want to do now is I want to use the trainer on PeakGTO to go through and train some spots real quick just to show you how you can really work to improve your skills. Let's just do pre-flop today. In a tournament, we'll be in the big blind versus a button raise, and let's do 80 big blinds deep versus a raise first in. And for our hands, let's filter out all of the weakest stuff because we know we're not playing the absolute junkers, right? We'll filter out these, we'll click start, and we'll try to not mess up too badly. 2.5 big blind raise. We have 5-2 suited. We will call every single time. We already know we call every suited hand except for the weakest ones and the absolute best ones. Just to show you which range we're working with. Oops. you can click right here just to give ourselves a quick refresher on the 80 big blind chart. Notice here, this is what we are doing. Remember, these hands in this region, we need to make sure we 3-bet. Also, I'm going to try to 3-bet some of these for fun and profit. I'll still probably mess up some. Jack 10 offsuit. Easy call. Go to the flop. By the way, you can train on PeakGTO yourself. Go check it out. We also have drills and drills of the day. The drills will help you really solidify how to play all the common scenarios that you are certain to encounter. Queen Jack suited. Do we get to 3-bet this one? Every single time. How do we know? We just looked at the chart. Queen Jack suited, and all the suited Broadways 3-bet a lot, 80 big blinds deep against the button. Ace King suited, 3-bets every single time. And as you go through and train these scenarios over and over and over again, that's going to go a long way to really helping you solidify your strategy. So you're not guessing, and instead you know. And as you know how to play these common poker scenarios better than your opponents, the money is going to trickle your direction. 6-4 suited. I would have naturally called this, but we might mix in some 3-bets every once in a while, but we do opt to just call every time. Notice it's not quite there, right? If you wanted to 3-bet it, though, I think it's perfectly reasonable. 9-5 suited, we will call as well. And as you can see, you can go through here and train over and over and over and over and over. Queen 9 suited. Mostly call, I presume, but again, we could mix it with some 3-bets if we felt inclined. Again, we're not quite there, but, you know, as you see, I, Jonathan Little, err towards aggressive. So don't be scared to get in their battle. By the way, if you think your opponent on the button will fold too much, then you should be 3-betting more often than normal. This is a spot where if they're folding out stuff like Queen 10, Jack 10, King 10, 9-6 suited, Queen 7 suited, 8-6 suited, you should 3-bet a little bit more than GTO recommends, which is quite a powerful play. Queen 3 offsuit, 3 offsuit mixes, pocket 4s at short stacks will call every single time. And again, go through and train. I can't do the training for you. All I can do is make the tools, give you the ability to study, and improve your skills. So please get over there and check it out at PeakGTO.com. That's going to be it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Do me a quick favor. Click the like and subscribe button before you go. And if you have a friend who's especially bad at defending the big blind, if they are a weak, tight-knit, show them this video. It'll change their life. I'll talk to you next time.